That boy got the fresh cut, man. What's the
About
occasion?
time. About time,
What's the
man.
occasion? They said about time. Like it's not his cut. What's the occasion, man?
He says not his
That boy got
don't
the
know, man.
fresh cut.
No, I was like, yo, trim my box. Next thing you know, my barber,
Yo.
what? I'm like, yo, come on now. Like, this is crazy, but 2022, I guess.
I hear you.
Let
New
it
begin-
let it grow out. It's gonna
I
grow
hear
back
you.
out.
New beginnings. New beginnings. Yeah. So
Still
what
got the hair
crazy-
on the top though. Like,
of course. I mean, you don't got the baldy. You know what I'm
They got
saying?
the baldy
you
like
don't
you.
got the. Yeah.
Yeah. I ain't showing all forehead.
I'll be dead, man. I'll be dead, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, what crazy things that Theus here this weekend? You know, I don't know about you, man, but like whenever I go out in public now, if someone sees me and we're talking hoop or whatever, I'll get asked like, "Yo, what's your thoughts on so and so?" Right? Obviously because of the show. So I said something, and people got offended naturally. As you like to say, people don't like hearing the truth. It sucks, but people don't like hearing the truth. So it makes them uncomfortable, but they don't like hearing it. So that debate of Paul Pierce versus Carmelo Anthony. Now, if you poll, right, let's say 30 people, or whether it's a casual NBA fan or whatever, most people are going to say Carmelo Anthony. I, for the record, are probably one of those people. But what I've said to this person, to this group in debate was, if someone were to say that Paul Pierce was ahead of Carmelo Anthony, a case could be made, right? I don't think that it's a guarantee 110% that, it's for sure Carmelo Anthony, like the things that Paul Pierce was doing. So how do you feel about it? I'm gonna say my case in a minute, but I just want to make sure we address. I want to hear your thoughts before I say everything that.
You didn't say anything wrong.
People and I know the fan base is going to be, especially how Melo fans are. It's like Well, I really hate to break it to y'all, and that's not a knock on Melo.
No,
but when you look at Pierce's career, I mean, there's something there, right? Like, no, for real, exactly. And my thing is, and I feel strongly about this. Paul Pierce's one championship, Paul Pierce's one Finals MVP carries so much weight, even though it was just 1 year. And I know people are going to say, well, look at the longevity, look at the legacies and the scoring and all that. That one chip, that one Finals MVP, and especially Kendrick Perkins talk about it. That journey that he had to go through. He didn't, he beat Kobe in the Finals. You feel me? I know he had Ray and KG, but that wasn't no year where obviously, if you make it to the Finals, the team that you're playing against is going to be good, of course. But like, if you beat Kobe and Paul Gasol in the Finals, I mean, that says something. And I know Carmelo fans don't like hearing that. I know y'all don't like hearing that the gap ain't as large as y'all might think, but like, Paul Pierce wasn't no bum. Like,
yeah, Paul Pierce was cold. Like, people act like Paul Pierce was like, yo, I think people get it confused because like social media, they would have probably said the same thing that people say about De'Aaron Fox and like Devin Booker and like Zach LaVine before like they're in a better team situation. They probably would have said the same thing about Paul Pierce, but like soon as Paul Pierce got a team around him, like it was serious. Like he's one of the most skilled players of all time. Like he did it at every level, clutch, can score off the dribble, handle. It's just like, what are we saying here? And then those wars and those battles with Kobe Bryant as well. It's just like Kobe Bryant has spoke highly of Paul Pierce his entire career. Like people know how cold the truth was. I think people kind of let their biases towards the bigger name or the more exciting player or the more talented player sometimes makes people feel like, okay, well, without question, this player was just better than this player. But it's a legitimate, I don't even say it's not even necessarily a case. It's more so probably like a legitimate argument that you can make either way, like Carmelo Anthony or Paul Pierce, especially if you ask some old hoop heads. Some people will probably say like, yo, Paul Pierce over Melo. Now, I will take Melo, of course, but like it's not really a shocker. It can go either way, to be honest, if we keep it on 100.
Yeah, like I would go with Carmelo Anthony as well, but if someone were to tell me they have Paul Pierce, I wouldn't be like, yo, you're crazy. It's like, and someone said to me, the idea of like, well, he had Ray Allen and KG. Okay, cool. But when you think about when Melo was at his peak, talking about the Olympic USA team, who the hell was on his team?
Yeah.
Like, and so it like how the argument shifts depending on which side you're on is like there's always a response to it. And I think, and also too, when you win a championship, right? Because people bring up championships like, Gary Payton and Jason Kidd. It's like they have one, but the time of when they got, like where they were at, you know what I'm saying, during their career. Not to take anything away from them, but just, being the best player on a championship team, winning a finals MVP is a lot different than being at the tail end. Like if Melo were to win a ring this year, hope he does, but it wouldn't come when he was with Denver or New York. It's a lot different. And maybe that might change the conversation, but still,
Yeah, Paul Pierce had like 5 seasons where he was averaging over 25 points, 25 or more. Like people talk like Paul Pierce wasn't in like, and also like during Paul Pierce time, that was when it was like that shooting guard position, everybody was stamped. Like it was Ward, Allen Iverson, Brandon Roy. You got Kobe Bryant. You had Rip Hamilton, like Tracy McGrady, Ray Allen. Like it was that shooting guard position was like what we view the point guard position it is right now in the NBA. That's how cold it was. That's how those wars were like really tough. And it was no cross matchups either. Like guys were really like going to war with each other on a nightly basis, which made the league, especially in the regular season, more exciting. But Paul Pierce, listen, I'm not a big Boston fan. I didn't grow up a big Paul Pierce fan. But at the same time, it's just like you're kidding yourself if you think Paul Pierce. Like I know it's funny, like the social media and the jokes and stuff, and hee ha ha. People like to chuckle and stuff, but Paul Pierce really was the truth. Like he was one of the most skilled players of all time. A guy did not operate just purely on athleticism. It was more so skill set. And even talking to Kendrick Perkins was gonna say, "Well, don't sleep on his athleticism because the younger Paul Pierce, he was dunking on cats too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was kind of. I agree. Don't sleep on
sneaky athletic.
Melo had some posters.
Yeah, of course.
Melo done had some victims. But and so that's another thing too, right? Is Pierce during the downtimes that he had with Boston, record wise, versus it's like, would you rather have a bunch of bad years or a good amount of bad years and then one championship, or would you rather have a bunch of like decent seasons with no chip? And that's where it's like, it could be a toss-up, whichever side you're on. But like, to me, man, that one ring, like literally, I'm not gonna say it washes everything away, but it holds so, because we know so many guys who don't even have one. We know so many guys that didn't really do anything in the playoffs. But to win one, I don't give like with Ray and KG, you beat a team that pretty much had 2 other finals wins. So it's like that holds some value. You feel me? And
definitely holds up. And they did it in their first year together as well. Like that's also important. Like, and we see like teams where they come together and join forces. Like not all the time they do it year one. So that makes it even more impressive. And then, like you said, he got one over a top 3 player of all time as well. Like what are we saying here? Like, I get it. Like, we look at the team situation, stuff like that, which is really crazy. But we can't credit Kobe for going out and beating the Boston Celtics and then not give credit to the Boston Celtics for beating Kobe. Like, we know, like, okay, if you really look at it, the Boston Celtics probably had the better team. But the same time, like, people are going to sit up and say when Kobe beat the Boston Celtics, like, yo, Kobe beat 3 Hall of Famers. So it's just like, it got to be some, like, balance in this. It can't be just like, oh, the Boston Celtics team, like, yo, they should have won. They had the better team and stuff like that. We're not going to really give credit to them, but then we're going to give credit to Kobe beating 3 NBA Hall of Famers. You know, so relatively, if not in their prime, close to their prime. So,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where I think another point that can be made is, well, if Melo was on that team, would they have won? Right? And again, probably they would have, but again, nobody knows. And that's a game that you can play like literally for eternity with every single player that's ever been in the league. But we can't judge that. We can't talk of that. But what actually happened, because they couldn't have won, right? Like we sit here and praise Paul Pierce for winning finals and people who's, you know what I'm saying? There's you plug in a lot of guys into that same situation, that system, that coach, that team, whatever. Who's to say that they definitely would have won? You'd like to think they would have, but we've also seen guys fold when it matters most, right? We've also seen guys have great regular season, then play like cheeks in the playoffs. And so to rise to the occasion, it's like that's another part of it. But for the record, I still, feel me, would go with Melo. Love Melo, even though he went to Cuse. But
I would still go with Carmelo Anthony. We know what Carmelo Anthony is about. But we gotta people. It's like legends retire and like superstar players retire, and then people start getting disrespectful. We had some commentary about Dwayne Wade last week, and it's just like I feel the same way about like the way I feel about Dwayne Wade. Kind of starting like people are starting to underrate Dwayne Wade and his greatness. People kind of do that to Paul Pierce as well. But speaking of another, since we're talking about the Boston Celtics, I mean, there's another guy on the Boston Celtics right now, Jayson Tatum. Did you watch the game? How did you feel about that performance? You know, that 50.
I was gonna let you go. I was gonna let you.
I mean, that's his fifth career 50-point performance. I mean, he was in a shooting slump. Shoot like 1 for 22 the past few days when he talked about the 3-point line. Comes out, sets a career high with 9 threes. I mean, he's special.
All right. I mean, you know what? So the thing is about Jayson's 51 game, I think I saw someone tweet, and I apologize, I don't remember who it was, but I think him and Jaylen Brown are the only teammates, I believe, this year to have scored 50. Mm-hmm. And so I know Boston fans feel this, let's break them up. But hey, guys. Hey, guys. If they're the only two in the league that have done it, you might want to start thinking twice. But yeah, to Jayson, the 51-point game, man, definitely special. I'm glad, I won't say like he's back, but I'm glad he had a game like that to kind of remind people of who he is. Because it's like when you have one bad game, people forget. When you have one great game, it's like, well, see, I told you so. So it's good to do that, especially on the road too, to do it in DC versus, I know with your thought process, future teammate Bradley Beal. But who knows? I wish.
I wish. I don't think that's gonna happen. It'd be good for St. SCL coach around.
Who knows, man? Who knows, man? Maybe that was
I think watching the game, and I caught most of the game. Once I heard he had like 20, and like he was like, 20 in the first half. I was like, okay, let me make sure I'm watching football. The playoffs, of course, but like let me make sure I got this screen on and watch the game and view what's going on. See my boy JT. But I think what's more impressive about watching that game is just kind of like the way he got his 50. I think people forget that Jayson Tatum is 23 years old, and he still has a lot of room to grow as a basketball player before he reaches his ultimate like peak. But the way he got his 50, it wasn't just like difficult shot, counters. That's cool. I love Jayson Tatum. He could do that. He has the ability to be a difficult shot creator and maker, just like, some of the greatest guys that we've seen in the history of the game. But at the same time, like when he's attacking the basket and trying to get to the rim and really be aggressive at the first zone on the basketball court, that really opens up everything. And it makes it where, you know what? That's what made like Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, and Kobe Bryant so special. Like they can hit difficult shots, but you know what? They also can like attack the rim, and they also can get simple shots. Not everything got to be a 3-dribble counter move, step back, pull up. Some moves can be like 1-2, boom, catching off the pick and roll, catch and shoot, quick. And that's what he was doing with this 50-point performance. And that's what I really like to I was like, okay, this is what I need. This is what I like to see, because like so many times, like with Jayson Tatum, it's just like, he's taking a lot of difficult shots, but like the game needs to become more simple for Jayson Tatum going forward in the future, because that's going to take him and really put him in this like, potential MVP caliber player that I see he can become.
Yeah, and I think too, on top of that, I think what makes a great player is one who can adjust, right? Like over the course of a game, if you're going off, I would hope that coaches and players are saying, okay, we're going to adjust defensively, right? But as an offensive player, you even adjust to their adjustments. And so now you reach a point where it's like, all right, you going to force me left? All right, cool, I'm still going to score. All right, cool, you want to send a double? I'm still going to score, right? Like still being in a position where like it doesn't matter, what, I'm saying is going to be thrown my way. I'm still going to give you 50 points. And I think the thing too, like with Jayson, is like, it's not just his ability to score, but it looks calm when he does it, right? It doesn't look forced. It doesn't look like, damn, like he, and maybe it is for him, but like it doesn't look that way. It doesn't look like he's,
it doesn't.
And it doesn't seem like he doesn't work hard, but like it's just calm. Like it's all right,
smooth.
Yeah. Here's 50 points. Here you go. Like and let's get up out of here. You know what I'm saying?
But that's why I feel like, yo, when he's making those difficult shots and he's doing the counter moves and all these things, I'm just like, yo, like it looks so smooth, it looks so easy, it looks so calm, but it's just like really like it could be even calmer. It could be even smoother. It can be really just dribble, pull up, shoot, catch and shoot without the side step three. You know what I'm saying? Like that's when he's starting doing this consistently, it's gonna get real scary. Because right now we just talking about his greatness as being a difficult shot creator and maker, and it's just like, yo, once he starts learning, like, yo, like Michael, like Kobe, like Kobe was the king of counters, but he also can like not have to do that every time. Michael Jordan had counters on counters, but he was also very crossover jumper, very simple, you know, so not everything needs to be like so difficult. And then watching this 50-point performance by Jayson Tatum, that's what I was really like intrigued by seeing. It was just like, all right, he was still making some of those difficult shots, but you know what? He was doing things more simple. And that's what we like. That's what I want to see going forward. And I know that's what a lot of people want to see going forward, which, like I said already, which can make him eventually this MVP caliber player in the future.
Yeah, and I think his ability to shoot the three ball definitely helps too. I mean, we're obviously the game now is more than just middies and lays, but his ability to really shoot at any and score at any level of the basketball court and at that height too, right? I think that definitely helps him. When we talk about guys that have the height as well as the athleticism and versatility and can put the ball on the floor. And he can really do a little bit of everything, you know. So it's going to continue to be scary, though. I mean, especially when we talk about MVP candidates. Maybe not necessarily for him this year, but this idea like, you know, as the league continues, he'll definitely be in those conversations at some point. And it's crazy, too. You know, we're just talking about young guys in general, like along with Jayson, is like seeing Trey as well as LaMelo play, you know, versus Hawks versus Hornets. It's like the idea of like the league is in good hands that gets said so often, but I think that really is the case though. Like I think we have this new crop, this new wave that we have of young talented guys. You know, we say the names often, but like they're here, and I think that's the dopest part too, is that like they're not waiting the way, you know, times have been in the past. Like, you know, they really are now considered the number one option, right? They're not, you know, going to a team where it's all right, you know, I'm gonna play second fiddle or just We got 50 burgers by Jayson Tatum, right? We got guys that are, you know, but it's special to see though. It really is special to see.
I mean, 100% agree. It's not.
Even though the fantasy football season is over, you can keep the excitement alive with MyBookie's double deposit bonus. Having your initial deposit matched up to $1,000 is like playing every game with home field advantage. All you have to do is sign up, use promo code NOPUMPFAKES, and get your funds credited to your account instantly so you can start placing your bets with MyBookie. With the NFL postseason in full swing, there's no shortage of games to choose from at MyBookie. And everyone knows that playoffs equal points. It's the best time of the year to hammer overs. With every player out to make a name for themselves, you know player props are a great way to find an edge. MyBookie is also home to exclusive contests that can be used to maximize your winnings and make 2022 your best year yet. Don't miss out. Double your first deposit up to $1,000 by using promo code NOPUMPFAKES. Place your bets and get ready for the intensity of playoff action. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
But also, I will say it's crazy though, because like these young guys here, but the old guys still here as well, which makes it even more crazy because like we can't even like get to the point where like we really started like looking at how we was looking at LeBron and Kobe and Allen Iverson and stuff like that when they came into the league, where the old heads were kind of like ending their seasons, well, kind of ending their careers, the 14, 15 season in the NBA. No, not these guys. Not saying everybody gonna play as long as LeBron James, but it's just like these guys are like really. Like Stephen Curry's going to be, I think, 34 this year. You know, he's still an MVP caliber player. Like it's Chris Paul is like 36? Going to be 37 this year. Like he's still arguably a top 5 point guard in the game. Like it's crazy. So it's just like these young guys are here, but these old guys with, you know, advanced technology for it's like weights and like equipment and just like the way they take care of their bodies and just like this going vegan and like it's different. It's different. Different times.
You want to know what else I was told / asked this past weekend as well? And I only say that because you said something that struck something in my mind and made me think of it. Is Russell Westbrook a top 20? I can't even say it. That's how messed up my mind was when I heard it. Is Russell Westbrook a top 20 point guard in the league? And I'm like, okay.
That's disrespectful. I can see people.
No, it's disrespectful. Yeah,
Yeah.
And I'm calm now, but when I was asked, I wasn't. So I get it. A guy isn't playing well. He tends to slide in people's personal rankings. I get that. I'm not confused by that. That's a part of it, right? When you play not well, things change. But we're about to sit here and say that 20 point guards in the National Basketball Association.
Yeah, I wouldn't even entertain.
Are better than Russell. And I wasn't going to, but I was dragged into it. And also, when I heard the names of the people that were mentioned ahead of him, I'm not gonna say all the names I heard, of course, but it's just like, yo, how quickly we forget. But
yeah,
so it's all good. I mean,
also it's crazy because I was on social media, on Twitter and stuff. Like NBA Twitter gets wild at times.
It gets nasty.
Is he a top 10 point guard right now? That's the real question. Because I think that's a little bit a legitimate argument. More so, top 20 is insane. I would have walked away. I don't even know why you. I know certain conversations I don't even entertain because it's just like I just don't. We talk about sports all the time. When you talk about sports,
right,
and especially basketball, you don't really want to talk about sports when you're just out and about, especially when it's something crazy.
No, it gets hectic. And this was at a restaurant too. Like I'm fresh off ordering my, salad.
Top 20 is crazy, but top 10 is a more legitimate argument because then you start looking at the top 10, and I still think he's a top 10 point guard, but it's just like that's a more harder.
How about this to make life a little easier for everyone out there? Let's put Russell Westbrook to the side, not including Russ, right? Not including Russ. Knock these bad boys out. All right. You got Trae Young. You got Steph. You got Kyrie Irving. And again, I know there's people out, the mixed definitions of what a point guard is and all that. But for the sake of this argument, people, you got Trae Young. You got Steph. You got Kyrie. You have Ja Morant. You have Melo. That's 5. You got Dame, that's 6. You got Chris Paul, that's 7. You got Darius Garland. That's 8. 2 more. I'm not about this.
It's crazy though because before you,
let's say Chris Paul. I don't know, man. It's just crazy to think like 20. I think at this point because of the times we're living in, people feel confident enough to say that. But 20 is like, yo. Someone told me Colin Sexton, Fred VanVleet.
No. Colin Sexton.
I heard Malcolm Brogdon. No. I heard Drew Holiday.
Yeah, it's starting. I heard Drew Holiday too.
I heard Tyrese Maxey.
I've heard Tyrese. And it gets to a point where we start talking about guys that ain't never really been a number one option on their team. It's a difference between like, we're talking about like Russell Westbrook and he's having a down year to, the standards that we've been holding Russell Westbrook up.
Exactly.
What he says.
Exactly. Like, and there's a difference.
Like, damn, come on now. Like, Drew Holiday ain't never been a first option on his team in his entire career. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't, so let's not get crazy. Yeah, okay, like, let's say he's a better point guard or better guard being the second and third option? Okay, sure. That's what you want to say. But we talk about let's talk about first option. Let's talk about what Westbrook has been his entire career. Like, it's like, let's be serious, Or even he was a second option with Kevin Durant for years, and it was just like, he finished ahead of KD in MVP voting one year.
All right. Well,
like it gets crazy. Like people forget. People really forget.
To play devil's advocate, because I know this is what people are going to say. That was 10 years ago. Right? That's if you want to argue legacy or resume, that's one thing. But for right now in a Lakers uniform, and that's what I'm just being told, right? Like I know kind of what he's done in the finals and going to the playoffs and alongside KD and winning MVP and all that. But in a Lakers uniform, or if we argue in resume, literally there's only one guy I want to hear. Other than that, there's literally
it gets crazy though, Theus, because I will say this. I will say this. I was having that conversation with a couple of my friends, and I was telling them, it's just like, I hate that, because it's just like, if you base everything off of 1 year, it's just kind of like, that's what makes people, that kind of what makes people like, yo, make takes and then be looking crazy down the line. That's what I would like. People were talking about Paul George, and Paul George was struggling a little bit in OKC, and they were talking crazy about Paul George. Like, that's what people start doing. It's just like, all right, if you base everything off 1 year, it's just like, okay, well, I get it, because it's just like, we're talking about this year, but you can't really do that with certain players, especially certain players that haven't had the same type of success, for a long duration of their career like another individual. So it's just like that gets very dicey, that gets very tricky, because like, okay, you base things off of 1 year. Well, 1 year can say a lot of things. Like 1 year, the Knicks fans thought Julius Randle they were saying that he was better than Chris Bosh all the time. I was like, y'all crazy as hell.
Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. Hold the hell up. Hold the hell up. Hold the hell up.
I was like, y'all crazy as hell. That was real conversation.
Hold the hell up.
The question was Chris Bosh ever as good as Julius Randle's last season? Because he was on an all NBA team. It's crazy, doing? Bro. Yeah.
No, you don't believe it. No one said that, bro.
Bro, yeah.
No, man. Was this in like a Twitter space?
Was
this in like a tweet?
Yeah, bro.
There's no way people legitimately felt that way, bro. Chris Bosh is literally on a franchise Mount Rushmore. Yeah. There's no way, and no shade to Julius, y'all, but damn it, what are we doing here? What? No. Now I'm upset. That doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
Who the hell? Okay. Yo, Chris Bosh, add him to the list of most disrespected athletes. What are we doing here? It's so crazy how one damn season can make people forget about shit. It is so crazy how, and of course, it's freaking Knicks fans that felt that way. What are we doing? What are we doing here? Chris Bosh, yo, I get it, okay? Bron man had to take, a decreased role playing with Bron and Wade, and I also get it. Julius Randle played phenomenally on the most popular team in the league. I get both of those things. But what are we doing? Yeah. Why the shade to Chris Bosh?
Yeah.
What?
I've heard some crazy things. That's what I'm saying. You can't get caught up in like this 1 year. Especially when it comes to players that you're putting over a guy that's done it for years. You know what I'm saying? It'd be different if you're talking about like 1 year when we're talking about like a Darius Garland versus a Dejounte Merritt, from the Spurs. Like, that's something different. That's a better, like, okay, who's better? Because it's like, yo, we've seen both these guys are still young. Like, we could compare. But when you start just saying, like, oh, okay, Darius Garland's better than Russell Westbrook. Well, I mean, like, damn, okay, well, this year he's having a better season. But, like, to be honest, am I really going to say I want to go to war with Darius Garland over Russell Westbrook, who I've seen? Like, I'm probably not going to say that. And then this is what I don't like this. It only happens to people that the media and like fans really, really do not like. And that's what we see with Russell Westbrook. Because if we being honest, if you want to have that conversation based on this year only, is Russell Westbrook a top 10 player, top 10 point guard? I'm sorry. Is Russell Westbrook a top 10 point guard? Why we ain't heard that shit about Dame? Because he damn sure ain't been a top 10 point guard this year. If we really talking about it. But am I going to sit up and say like, yo, is 10 point guards better than Dame? No, I am not. So why are we doing that with Russell Westbrook? You get what I'm saying? Like, if we're not saying about Dame, why are we doing that with Russell Westbrook? Because we know Dame has had a bad season. Russell Westbrook hasn't had the greatest season. Why the energy and the consistency is never there. Here's another thing. Basketball analytic nerds. Russell Westbrook has a higher field goal percentage than Stephen Curry right now. Oh, but Stephen Curry's true shooting percentage. No, we're talking about field goal percentage right now. Why y'all not saying nothing about that? But y'all quick to talk about Russ. You know what I'm saying? It's just like people pick and choose when they care about certain things and when they care about certain topics when it comes to a player that they do not care about or they do not like. And that's my, that really gets me. That gets me going. That really gets me going because it's just like, Nobody's going to say Dame is not a top 10 point guard. Nobody. It's not even a question based on 1 year. But Russell Westbrook, yeah, Russell Westbrook's not a top 10 point guard. I want Fred VanVleet. I want Mary over. I want Garland. Like, all right, okay, they may be having better season, but like, damn, like what what are we doing? Because last time I checked, when Russell Westbrook was the first option, he was still carrying teams to the playoffs. Like when he was in a system that was where he can really play his game, he was looking phenomenal. Like, what are we saying here? Like, we just saw last year with the Wizards. Like, people like Bradley Beal may have been the best player on that team, maybe. But people can really say it was Russell Westbrook's impact that really got them to the playoffs, not Bradley Beal. So what are we doing here? Like, it's
well, because the thing is, I think what people are going to say is, "What have you done for me lately?"
Yeah, that's
that's just how. I mean, that's the world we live in. That's the business that these guys are in. It's like, because now you hear, people talking about trades and stuff, right? Him being involved and possibly going to another team, and so it all comes down to, what have you done for me lately? I know you know what he has done over the course of his career. I know you know his legacy, his resume, and all that. It is definitely there. But in terms of this season, in terms of what has happened with the Los Angeles Lakers, that might be the only thing that people continue to talk about. People don't want to hear any more about what he did with OKC. People do not want to hear any more about him winning an MVP, especially Laker fans. All that stuff is good. When you talking about him being enshrined into the Hall of Fame, cool. All that stuff is good when people compare him to, Steph and Derrick Rose all time. Absolutely. But right now, today, in terms of point guards that you feel, that was the other name. Oh my goodness. I would say the other name off camera. I don't want to say it on here. But just the idea that it sucks that it's not working out, but we also can't deny his obvious talent. And I hate it. I hate that that's the case. But what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, but it's working. It's not working out for a lot of reasons. And let's talk about some of those reasons. Talking about how the Lakers had on the court with them versus the Miami Heat a lineup that looked like it belonged in the early 2000s. Nobody on the basketball court could shoot the ball except for LeBron James. Let's talk about real issues. Let's talk about they don't have any catch and shoot players on their team. Let's talk about they don't play with energy. Let's talk about, we want to talk about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's still he's averaging 19, 7, and 8. And it's not like what we're accustomed to seeing, but it's also this is Russell Westbrook's lowest usage ratage in a while now. So I can point to stats. I can talk about real issues and stuff like that, but nobody really wants to talk about those things because it's just it's the blame game. Like Kanye West said, let's play the blame game. That's what people love to do. And it's just how it is. Yeah. Russell Westbrook's a new player. Hey, let's blame Russell Westbrook. But it's crazy. I just don't like that pisses me off just as much as the whole all-time ranking list where we just judge things based on championship. That's up there with what pisses me off the most when we compare guys based on the year to year. Compare guys that are stamped. That's been doing it damn, they can't have one bad season. They didn't sit up and put 7 in one bad season compared to you're comparing them to their greatness. You're not comparing them to guys that you're trying to put over them right now, who's averaging worse numbers that you're saying that's better than Russell Westbrook. Drew Holiday's he's been playing great, but his numbers aren't. I don't know his stats off the top of my head like I normally do. But I don't think his numbers are really better than Russell Westbrook right now. Darius Garland's playing phenomenal and stuff like that, but it's just his numbers are a little better, but it's not crazy better. It's just I think too, it's the expectations. So because Russ isn't playing up to par with the way people expect him to, and Darius Garland is playing above the way people expect him to, we tend to naturally just be okay, well, so-and-so is better. And not to use Darius Garland, but just as an example, if you have a guy who isn't playing the way you think he should be playing, and a guy that is playing way better than what you originally thought, naturally you're going to, or not naturally, but for some people, you might start to think, well, so-and-so is better, so-and-so is this, so-and-so is that. It's take a deep breath. It's been, half a season. Just
okay?
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it, but let's not get carried away. But again, like I said, people don't want to hear that. And I get it. Like I said, at the end of the day, especially if you are in a win now mode, especially when you have LeBron James, especially when you have Anthony Davis coming back. It's you want to sit there and say man, we shouldn't judge it year to year, but also we have to understand we're on a clock, right? Yeah. We are time is ticking for all of them, right? Their best players aren't 23.
Yeah.
Right? Their best players may not have the greatest health history. So it's I don't know. It's a tough thing to acknowledge, but I still want to acknowledge the truth behind it. But AD should be coming back, so that's.
And let's see what's going to happen with that's the real quick. What's going to happen with that? Let's really see if everybody's healthy. That's what I want to see. How the Lakers are going to really, go about things, because I told you, this stretch is crazy. This stretch is a maker. They got a tough stretch coming up. They're in it right now. They just played Miami Heat. Shout out to Miami Heat. Let's switch gears. I'm tired of talking about the Lakers. The Miami Heat. Go ahead.
Talk about the Heat. Yeah,
the Miami Heat, the most slept on team in the NBA. Number 1 seed right now in the Eastern Conference. Now that can change, I know, because you got teams that are really one game behind and stuff like that. But when we talk about well-roundedness and potential overall completeness, it's 3 teams that I think of. That's the Phoenix Suns, that's the Milwaukee Bucks, and that's the Miami Heat. And the reason why I think about those 3 teams, because they hit all these checklists that you kind of want to have. Do you have a big 3? It may not be a big 3 as in James Harden, Kyrie Irving, or Kevin Durant, that big 3. But do you have a big 3 when we talk about all-star caliber players, have a star and have 2 all-star caliber players? Yes, they do. You look at the Suns, you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, you look at the Miami Heat. That's 1. Do you have shooting? The Miami Heat have shooting. Do you have players that can play defense at a high level? They have players that can play defense on a high level, just like the Suns, just like the Bucks. So they hit all these 3 major checkpoints, and it's just okay, why isn't anybody talking about the Miami Heat? Especially when it's just if you look at the roster this year, Bam has played 22 games. Jimmy Butler's missed 29 out of the 47, 48 games that they played. Kyle Lowry's missed 8 games. He's out right now. And Tyler Herro's missed 7 or 8 games. And they're still the number 1 seed right now, but a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. Eric Spoelstra, the coach of the year, to me, without question. They are serious, and it's just they haven't even got fully healthy, and they're this dangerous. And Jimmy Butler, my goodness, when we talk about elite wings, people sleep on Jimmy Butler, and they shouldn't sleep on Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler has done more and has more success than some of the guys that people be putting over him. He's that good. He's that serious. People don't want to give Jimmy Butler his credit, but this is a guy that really worked on his game and improved. When we talk about improvement, a lot of times people just talk about stats. It's not all about stats. It's about improving as a basketball player. Year after year, working on your game, getting better. That is Jimmy Butler. Hard worker, has gotten better each and every year. He's 26. He's averaged 21, 6 and 6 right now. But it's just he does so much for the Miami Heat, especially when we're talking about this dual forward role, when Kyle Lowry's been out, passing, scoring, rebounding. He does a lot. And then people really need to give him his flowers, because he's really serious. He's stamped.
Yeah, for sure. We saw kind of what he did in the finals a couple of years ago. We saw what he did recently against the Lakers. But yeah, man, it's there's certain guys I get slept on. And I'm glad that Jimmy is with Miami, because I think his playing style and the overall culture down there, it fits well. It fits perfectly. And it's crazy. The number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. As of this recording, of course. But and so they're here, man. It's going. I think moving forward, it's going to be a great season and opportunity for them. Because it's crazy how you can be slept on even as a 1 seed, right? It's crazy how people can say, I don't know if they can, do it. They're literally record wise the best team in the conference. So.
And it's it ain't we haven't seen them in the playoffs. I know Jimmy Butler, I was on him that last year in the playoffs. That was horrific, terrible, horrible. But I've also seen Jimmy Butler go to the NBA Finals and put up numbers that LeBron James was putting up. He was averaging damn near close to a triple-double. He's also the leader in triple-doubles for the Miami Heat for his franchise history right now as well. So shout out to Jimmy Butler for that. But it's just I've seen Jimmy Butler really show up when it matters the most. And it's just I can't people can sleep on that, and that's fine, because you said, Miami, maybe the Miami Heat want to be slept on, because it's nobody's really talking about them. People talking about this team and that team. But to be honest, when we talk about well-roundedness and completeness and potential when they're healthy to go out and really beat any team in the NBA, regardless of who's on the opposing team, Miami Heat they're up there with me
with the Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks because they have those three things that I talked about. A big three, shooting, and defense. Like those are the three things that I feel that every championship team needs. At least 2 out of 3. But if you have all three, it really gets scary.
Yeah. And I would add too, experience. Just the fact that they have guys that have done it or at least made it.
Yep.
Kyle Lowry is an NBA champion. Jimmy Butler and Bam have both made it to the finals. So they're not new. Or like when they get to, even though, they kind of, last season was a little bit of a disappointment, but they're not new to like reaching that level. And when we talk about the Bulls, right, not really having guys that have that experience, so you really don't know. But at least with Miami, you got guys that have been through it. So even if they're not your pick, you still understand like, okay, you can't teach experience, right? That's not something that you can just practice. It's either you literally have it or you don't, and they do. So, and they're going to need it, especially, if they do end up going against Brooklyn or Milwaukee, whoever it is in the Eastern Conference, but they're definitely going to need it. But yeah, man, you got a cap or no cap? Let's see, when I tell you when I tell you who the player was that I remember who was being compared to Russ, man, I got nauseous.
You're not gonna say it on the.
I'm not gonna say it here because the way I'm reacting to the name now is gonna sound disrespectful. But what the hell are we doing? What the hell? All right, yeah. Cap or no cap?
You got one, or you want me to get one?
I mean, who got one? Rock out.
Yeah. Cap or no cap? It's crazy because we talk about this team and this player, this guy a lot. Cap or no cap? The Philadelphia Sixers are doing Joel Embiid a disservice by not trading Ben Simmons. Especially when we're talking about this year, like what's going on with Joel Embiid right now, putting up an MVP caliber season. It's been rumors, it's been reports that basically the Philadelphia Sixers wanted to wait to the summer. Are they doing like Joel Embiid, arguably the best big man in basketball, a disservice by not trading Ben Simmons this year?
I would say cap. And I know that's going to go against what you feel, obviously, and what a lot of people in Philly feel. And the only reason why I say that is because he's not at the tail end of his career. I think right now, this is a long-term play with the Sixers, right? Because Ben is still young, and depending on who they get in return, I know people are talking about James Harden. And obviously, of course, if they could make the trade as soon as possible, get active. But at the same time, I think this is such a franchise-changing move that they want to make sure that it's going to be the correct one, right? Because if there's any franchise in the league that knows about failing, damn it, it's Philly. And so I think they're trying to make sure that, all right, what we do, there's no going back, right? There's no like, all right, we're going to change our mind and whatnot. So once you give up Ben for whoever, that's your final decision. And again, I get it. I definitely wish that Embiid had some help in terms of replacing Ben or whatever. But at the same time, if they're looking to make such a big move, you also want to make it a smart one. You also don't want to make it, just like, all right, we got to get Ben Simmons just cause, and then now you asked out with someone who definitely isn't a fit. So I get what you're getting ready to say and how you feel, but because this is a major, major move, they may have the luxury of waiting. That wasn't what you thought I was going to say, huh?
I'm shocked because Mr. wins. Like, wins matter. Like,
well, because honestly, too, think about it. Like, whatever the trade is now for Ben Simmons, realistically, do you think it's good enough for them to win a championship right now? Now, obviously, we don't know what the trade package is looking like, but if they make a trade right now for Ben Simmons, all right, are they better than Brooklyn? Are they better than Milwaukee? Are they better than Miami? So it's like, I'm not going to say I would rather, but I understand the idea of waiting. It's like, all right, the move that we do make, when we do make this move, I want to be assured that we have a legitimate case to win the championship. Don't just trade Ben Simmons just because he's upset. Don't just trade Ben Simmons because y'all mad. Don't just trade Ben Simmons because you get impatient.
He's not playing, Theus.
I understand that. I understand that. But at the same time, that trade would still be valuable if you decide to wait. Because if you trade him now for some mid, if you trade him now just because you're upset.
What's mid? Because if last time I checked, De'Aaron Fox is not mid because Sixers don't want him.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Let's talk about it.
But to your point, though, to your previous point, if you think that they can get James Harden, I don't know when. This is all just based off, just rumors or whatever. If you think that they can get James Harden, maybe that's why they're waiting. I'm cool with that. If I had a crystal ball and said, would I rather have De'Aaron Fox now for this season, next season, or wait for James Harden? I'd probably wait too, right? But obviously no one knows. But like, if you can get De'Aaron Fox now, does that make them a championship team? Not to me. Does that make them better than the Nets? Does that make them better than Milwaukee? No. So it's like, what exactly are you doing? And so again, like I said, I understand why you might be frustrated, but unless it's a move that is legitimately going to throw you in the conversation with Brooklyn, Miami, Phoenix, like.
But they can make a legitimate argument. They can make like the Sixers and Joel Embiid can feel like, what are they, a top 4 seed right now? Like, it's just like they got Tobias Harris. They can
make that argument. What? Finish your sentence. Go ahead.
They can make an argument that they're in this like, they may not be as good as those other teams, but it's just like they can feel like, like we can possibly go in the Eastern Conference Finals run. We just saw the Atlanta Hawks go in the Eastern Conference Finals run. So I'm not going to sit up and say like, that the Joel Embiid and this team right now can't go and make it to the finals. Who knows? Like, but all I'm saying is just like.
Okay, fine. Who knows? Do you think they are better than the Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks, or Brooklyn Nets?
No, I do not.
Okay,
think they are better.
Okay,
but I'm just saying it's not like. But this season is a season where it's just like, I can't sit up even to say the Brooklyn Nets, who I believe that should be the favorites to win a title. I cannot sit up and say that anybody is really a guarantee to win this NBA championship. It's that wide open. So if you make a play and you possibly get like I don't know, CJ McCollum. I don't know I don't know what the Philadelphia Sixers are waiting on, but it's just kind of like all I know is that Ben Simmons' trade value is shot. He's not playing. Like, regardless of like what we know and last seen him and know him to be this type of player, but it's just like if you're not playing, like it's just like who's to say Ben Simmons is gonna come back and like is gonna be in shape and gonna be like this dominant player that he was? I'm sure he will, but it's just like you don't know. He's not. His value is shot.
So that's another thing too. If you say his value is shot, are they really even doing him a quote unquote disservice? Because it's not like if they're receiving like all these great trade packages and then not trading Ben Simmons. But if you feel that his value ain't the same, then it ain't that big of a deal.
It is a bigger deal because you talk about waiting and killing another prime year of Joel Embiid's career, waiting around thinking you're going to get James Harden. Now, I told you last week that like I have a feeling that people feel that like James Harden is very interested with the Philadelphia Sixers. I have a source close to the Brooklyn Nets. But at the same time, it's just like nobody knows what's going to happen because even if the Nets like win it all, and then James Harden wants his money, like maybe it's like, okay, well, I'm going to stay here. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, and also, the Philadelphia Sixers could have had James Harden already. That's my problem with this whole, like, we're going to wait around for James Harden. But damn, you could have had, he was supposed to be in Philly before he was supposed to be in Brooklyn. The pieces was right there. Like, you could have had James Harden already. And then he was like, oh, you know what? No, we don't want to trade Ben Simmons. And what happens? As soon as the playoffs are over with, you got people throwing him on the bus and you kind of like, damn, like now Ben Simmons doesn't even want to play anymore. So it's just like, damn, it's just a bad situation. And let me tell you something. This Philadelphia Sixers organization, this wouldn't be the first time they wasted the all-time talent. It's prime. They did it with Allen Iverson. Wasting around a bunch of years without getting him no help. And we could be saying the same thing with Joel Embiid. Because you have this like idea that Ben Simmons is going to fetch you this all-star, no, not even an all-star, MVP caliber, Hall of Fame caliber type of talent in return. Let me tell you something. No deal is ever even when we talk about like giving up like a player. Like it's a rarity that we see a trade that's very, very like split even. So it's just like the Sixers think they're gonna get like a James Harden or maybe a Bradley Beal or Jaylen Brown in return. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. But if you can get like a De'Aaron Fox and a Buddy Hield, and De'Aaron Fox who has all-star potential, because a legitimate argument be made, we want to get really spicy. Like, I think Ben Simmons is probably a better basketball player than De'Aaron Fox, but it ain't like shit. It ain't like it's a huge gap. You know what I'm saying? We want to keep it real. So it's just like you making it seem like Ben Simmons, I know he's been a two-time all-star, best perimeter defender in the NBA when he's on the court, but at the same time, it's just like he ain't no. And then we're not talking about a Stephen Curry. We're not talking about a Trae Young. We not talking about a Dame. Like let's keep it 100. We always talk about with Ben Simmons. I love Ben Simmons. You know me. I've supported Ben Simmons so much. We always talk about Ben Simmons' potential, but potential don't mean shit if you ain't reaching it. So it's just like, damn, you could talk about his potential. He could be this, he could be that, but like you got to base shit on what you've seen. And my eyes tell me, right, based on what I've seen and based on the trade package that's possibly available with the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox is not a bad deal to have if you got to throw in Ben Simmons.
Yeah. I don't even have, no, for real, I don't have, if that deal happened, I wouldn't be mad at it either way because like I said, De'Aaron Fox is talented. I'm just saying, though, that the reason why they might not, I guess, pull the trigger on that trade is because they feel like they can get more. And I'm not here to say whether I agree or disagree, but if that is the reason, then all right, cool. Because if they do end up waiting or getting another player during the summer, offseason, whatever, then they look like geniuses. But if not, then they look like people that aren't a genius. So
and you know what? This last point, that's what I also want to bring up. It ain't like we talking about Nikola Jokic. We talk about durability. LeBron James durability. Like, maybe not so much with the Lakers, but like historically, LeBron James has been one of the most durable players the league has ever seen. We're talking about Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid was hurt in the playoffs last year. Joel Embiid's been hurt most of his career. Like, do you really want to sit up and keep wasting this man's prime that you don't even know if his prime is going to last longer than 4 more years? He's 27 years old right now with a stat sheet of injuries. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's starting to get crazy.
So what
like,
you're saying is take advantage.
What are we doing?
Take advantage of the time that you do have with Joel Embiid.
Yes, you're in the championship window right now. You're trying to compete for a championship. Take advantage, because let me tell you something. Joel Embiid, as great as he is, as talented as he is, like injuries. When your injury, we got to check sheet as long as Joel Embiid for his injuries. That shit can catch up to you. And it's just like, that's something that scares me with Joel Embiid. And it's just like, take advantage of it right now. Because who's to say that Joel Embiid is going to even be healthy next season if you do get James Harden, based on his injury history.
And I think one thing that we've learned too, especially like from the Warriors era, and I mean, they're still in it, but like, just the idea of like, take advantage of the moment that you're in. Right, like obviously plan for the future, of course, but like, don't think that it's about to be sweet next year just because it's going well now, right? Like, don't think that like, all right, we're planning it, for 10. You better make sure you got things under control now, right? Because we've seen it in the past. So many teams, so many players have this idea that things are going to figure themselves out over time, but at the same, in that same breath, you have to acknowledge like, yo, we got a dope opportunity now. Let's run with it. What do we, what are we waiting on? And that's just a question I feel like they themselves might have to ask. I get it, you got 2 young guys, but at the same time, take advantage of that. You feel me? But yeah, man. Just like that, y'all. Be gone. Peace. See you on the next one.
It's your boy, Ahmad K. Smith, also known as AK. Make sure you guys go follow No Pump Fakes wherever you get your podcasts.